2.3 Perform Portfolio Management. In this section, we will study, first, how to assess an organization's ability to perform projects, identify potential projects, use a cost-benefit analysis model to select projects, as well as use a scoring model to select projects, prioritizing projects, and finally, briefly, introduce the resourcing projects. Assessing an organization's strengths and weaknesses is an essential part of aligning projects with the organization. If an organization does not have the right capabilities, a project that may otherwise support organizational goals may be too difficult to complete successfully. Some questions regarding a firm's ability to support projects are as follows. Do we have the right skills, capabilities, technical knowledge, and resources that are required for potential projects? If we do not have them, can we acquire them easily? Do we have teams with the right attitude to work together, use free and open communication, be creative, and be empowered to make decisions? Do we have clearly defined project management processes? Do our associates have the right attitudes, skills, and competencies to use the project management processes? Are our leaders at each level willing to take appropriate risks? Does senior leadership establish a strong foundation for leadership development? Do individuals and teams exhibit leadership at their respective levels? Finally, do we monitor and understand our external environment? All these questions are extremely important to use while assessing an organization's ability to perform projects. Section 2.3b, Identifying Potential Projects. The second part of aligning projects with the firm's goals is to identify potential projects. In general, some potential projects are meant to capitalize upon a strategic opportunity or technological advance. Others may serve a social need, an environmental consideration, a customer request, improving operational efficiencies, or a legal requirement. Ideally, this is accomplished in a systematic manner, not just by chance. Some opportunities will present themselves to the organization. However, other good opportunities will have to be discovered. All divisions of the organization, from frontline to senior executives, should be involved in identifying potential projects. A reasonable goal is to identify approximately twice as many potential projects as the organization has time and resources to perform, as shown in my slide. However, not all project ideas are a good fit with the company or the company's vision. Anyone associated with the healthcare industry is familiar with the maze of regulations and regulatory agencies. For the federal government, the agencies include the ones listed in the slide, and some state agencies are also listed in the slide. It is important to note that there are the local regulators and also private organizations, like the Federation of State Medical Boards and the Joint Commission on Accreditation of Healthcare Organizations. Another reason that projects in healthcare are proposed is for safety reasons. Safety can affect the general public, patients, and employees. For instance, a project to improve the safety procedures of handling biohazard materials will protect the health and welfare of those in all three categories: the public, patients, and employees. Sharp injuries occur more frequently in patients' rooms and in the operating theater. A project to reduce sharp injuries would probably be targeted to a limited population of medical facility employees. An overhang to protect the entrance of a medical facility and a heated walkway in areas of potential icing problems are examples of exterior projects designed for the safety of all users of a medical facility. One thing to remember, however, is that safety is related to finances, in that if safety initiatives are not considered, there could be a negative effect on insurance premiums, as well as the potential liability that could occur. should there not be the necessary emphasis on safety. Technological advances continue in every aspect of our lives, and healthcare is no different. Research into artificial intelligence has increased exponentially. The consensus is split on whether this will be good or not so good, especially for the healthcare industry. However, project managers must be cognizant of artificial intelligence and how it may affect the field of healthcare. It is important to mention that projects don't happen in a vacuum. Therefore, most projects will have consequences, and artificial intelligence projects may be the most far-reaching. In this slide, we present the methods for selecting projects. The people in charge of selecting projects should ensure overall organizational priorities are understood, agreed upon, and communicated. Once this common understanding is in place, it is much easier to prioritize potential projects. The degree of formality used in selecting projects varies widely. In a smaller organization, it can be straightforward. The prioritization should consider criteria derived from project management, finance, and strategic aspects, and should include asking questions such as these. What value does each potential project bring to the organization? Are the demands of performing each project understood? Are the resources needed to perform the project available? Is it feasible to complete the project within the expected time and at the projected cost while managing associated risks? Is the project financially beneficial and compatible with other investment decisions? Is there enthusiastic support from both external customers and from one or more internal champions? Last but not least, which projects will best help the organization achieve its strategic goals? In this slide, I show you that there are several different methods of systematically selecting projects. The methods include both financial and scoring models. The primary reason for including financial analysis, either to make the project selection decisions directly or to at least assist in the decision making, is that from management's perspective, projects are investments. Therefore, proper selection should yield a portfolio of projects that collectively contribute to organizational profit. 3 different approaches are commonly used to ensure both financial and non-financial factors are considered when selecting projects. First, financial analysis is the primary means of determining which projects are selected, and management merely tempers this with informal inclusion of non-financial factors. Second, financial models are used as screening devices to qualify projects or even just to offer perspective. Qualified projects then go through a selection process using a scoring model. Third, financial justification is one factor used in a multi-factor scoring model. It's important to notice that the common thread in all 3 of these project selection approaches is that both financial and non-financial factors are considered in varying degrees. In this slide, I show you the cost-benefit analysis model for selecting projects. I will not go into these models in depth as they are part of other classes. So, cost-benefit analysis is a financial analysis tool used to determine the benefits provided by a project against its costs. These models compare expected project costs to expected project benefits. Several models can be used in making project selection decisions. The first one is the net present value, which is the most widely accepted model. When using net present value, the analyst first discounts the expected future value of both the project costs and benefits, recognizing that $1 in the future is worth less than $1 today. A second financial model is the benefit-cost ratio. The ratio is obtained by dividing the cash flow by the initial cash outlay. A ratio above 1.0 means the project expects to make a profit, and a higher ratio value than 1.0 is better. The third financial model is the internal rate of return. In this model, the analyst calculates the percentage return expected on the project investment. A ratio above the current cost of capital is considered positive, and a higher expected return is more favorable. The fourth financial model is the payback period, PP. In this analysis, a person calculates how many years would be required to pay back or recover the initial project investment. The organization would normally have a stated period that projects should be paid back within, and shorter payback periods are more desirable. In this slide, I show a table with a high-level summary of either financial mode. It's important to mention that none of the financial models ensure alignment with an organization's strategic goals. Therefore, financial analysis, while very useful, is normally not enough. Also, one must always remember that some of the benefits or costs, such as brand image and perceived market value, are not tangible and cannot be quantified in financial terms. It is critical to understand these limitations of financial models. 2. Laundry, using a scoring model to select projects. In this slide, I am describing scoring models. Apart from verifying the financial soundness of the projects chosen, additional factors frequently need to be taken into account. A scoring model is a tool that facilitates the process of choosing and ranking possible projects. When there are numerous projects up for selection and a variety of selection criteria, it is helpful to prioritize the projects. While some organizations compare projects using more sophisticated models like the analytical hierarchy process, the majority of businesses stick to simpler methods like scoring model variants, which is what we will discuss in this section. The first step in using a scoring model is to identify potential criteria. These criteria should include how well each potential project fits with the organization's strategic plan and objectives. The criteria may also include items such as risk, timing, technical capability, and resources needed. It's a normal practice for the company's leadership team to jointly determine criteria for project selection. A list of questions executives may use to develop their list of criteria is shown here. For example, how well does this project fit with at least one organizational objective? Are the data needed to perform the project available or easily collected? Or how does this project promote or hinder a corporate social responsibility? There are more questions you can ask, but these are basic ones you will need to start identifying potential criteria. Once the leadership team agrees on a list of important criteria, the next step is to determine whether any of the criteria are mandatory. That is, are there any situations that dictate a project must be chosen regardless of any other considerations? Examples of this include government mandates and clear safety or security situations. This list of must-do projects should be kept as small as possible, since these projects automatically get selected and can crowd out other worthwhile projects. Next, the leadership or project selection team determines the relative importance or weight of each decision criterion. While more complex methods of determining criteria, weights, and project evaluations have been used in the past, many firms now use the simple methods described here. See this slide for an excellent example of project evaluations. In this slide, we will study the evaluating projects based on criteria. Once a project has been rated on a specific criterion, that rating should be multiplied by the weight assigned to that criterion and displayed as the weighted score in the main body of each cell. The total for each project should be added across the row. The highest scoring projects would ordinarily be selected. If several projects have close scores, virtual ties, Other criteria or discussions can be used to break the tie. For example, in this table, I provide an example of a completed project selection and prioritization matrix. Please, you may follow these steps. 1. Concentrate on one criterion at a time and rate each project on that specific criterion. 2. Scores ranging from 1 potential project has very little or even negative impact on this criterion to 5 project has excellent impact on this criterion. 3. The upper left portion of each cell in the matrix can display the rating representing how well that project satisfies that criterion. In this slide, I discuss sensitivity analysis. So, in the hypothetical questions, what would happen if factors were to change? Then some criteria may be deemed more important than others. Thus, we will have to add missing criteria or new alternatives. So, scoring models allow leadership or project selection teams to perform sensitivity analysis to examine what would happen to the decision if factors affecting it were to change. Selection criteria may be added or altered, and the team may decide that some criteria are more important than others and weigh them accordingly. Missing criteria or new alternatives can be added and the decision revisited. For example, if the team evaluating the projects in this table had a bad experience with an unsuccessful project and decided to reevaluate their decisions with success, probability now weighted at 9 for very important, the new project selection and priority matrix would be calculated as shown in the table. Please take some time to study this table. Thank you. In this slide, I provide the root cause analysis tool on this presentation. David Shirley's textbook is the other one I'm utilizing as a reference for this slide. In order to help an organization choose a project, this is most likely the most crucial tool a project manager can suggest. Of course, that means that there are issues that need to be resolved. It is thought that the issues, especially those pertaining to quality improvement, are the driving force behind many projects that are under consideration in a company. Consider it like an equation. The effect is on one side of the equation, while a list of possible causes is on the other. The goal is to identify the cause or factor necessary to bring the equation into equilibrium. The object is to find the cause or causes that will balance the equation. I find it easier to research one effect at a time, and always keep in mind that for any one effect, there could be multiple causes. Just because you have identified one cause doesn't mean that your job is done. 2.3 Prioritizing projects. The question here is, which projects are assigned resources and scheduled to begin first? What is the result of the scoring models? Other issues discussed by leadership may be the urgency of each project, the cost of delaying the expected benefits, the factor of practical details of timing, and last but not least, the opportunity costs associated with the project. In the resourcing projects slide, I introduced to you an example of a resource assignment matrix, which emphasizes the fact that leadership should start assigning resources from highest priority project down until resources become limited. Assigning resources requires a prioritized project list, such as the one shown in the example in the slide, a list of resources and how much of each is available, and an estimate of how much of each key resource each project will need. For simplicity, organizations often plan for a fiscal quarter. The table in the slide shows the same 4 projects and choices of project managers, team members, and the budget for each. Note that while there is enough project manager time to start all 4 projects, there is neither enough team member time nor enough cash. Therefore, only 3 projects can be started. 2.4 Securing projects. This section deals with a company called the client interested in completing a project, but for which it may hire external resources, called contractors, to execute a significant part or all of the work. Contractors seeking external projects to perform should pursue them in a fashion similar to that of any company considering internal projects, as described earlier in this chapter in the portfolio alignment section on identifying potential projects. Additionally, since they need to look for projects externally, contractor companies should have representatives at trade shows, professional conferences, and anywhere else where information on the intentions of potential customers and competitors may surface. Contractor companies should also actively practice customer relationship management by establishing and nurturing personal contacts at various levels and functions. Determine which opportunities to pursue. So just as all companies should decide on internal project selection, most contractor companies are best served by targeting the projects they wish to pursue. Successful project managers try hard to convince potential clients that they are capable of all four dimensions, such as technical, managerial, financial, and operations. Finally, successful project managers understand the need to prepare well for negotiations. It often requires an understanding of both perspectives to find a solution. In brief, the process of choosing a project is not isolated. It should ideally start with the strategic planning of the company. The first step in this planning is a strategic study of the organization's prospects and threats from the outside, as well as its internal strengths and weaknesses. Next, the organization needs to create its mission and vision statements, among other guiding concepts. The majority of businesses will hold an annual planning meeting when strategic goals and the ensuing action plans are created. Potential initiatives will be identified as a result of these action plans. Bigger companies will persist in this endeavor by implementing one or more tiers of planning, wherein the overarching goals are filtered down to ascertain goals that suit every organizational level. Potential projects should go through a process to determine which will be chosen and what their relative priorities are after they have been discovered, briefly explained, and provided with statements of work and business cases. It is common practice to assess possible projects using both scoring and financial models. Finally, contractors must continually seek project prospects. Thank you for listening. If you have any questions, please contact me.